Kendal Briles is officially staying at the University of Arkansas as the offensive coordinator. Razorback Baseball preseason news, some good news, and also some bad news, and of course, some Thursday nonsense. It's all coming up on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Thursday. And we know we're getting closer to the weekend, and it's always going to be a fun time when we can do that as well. And a few topics, though, that we're going to try to discuss at length, at least because the ever-evolving situation with football and baseball and all those things, it's like, I feel bad because sometimes when I record these podcasts, some news breaks, like as soon as I get done recording it, I'm like, golly, all right, well, just have to wait till the next day. But this actually worked out perfectly because at the time of recording this podcast is when the news became official, first reported by Chris Lowe of ESPN.com, and then got confirmed by other sources as well, that Kendal Briles will be staying as the offensive coordinator role at Arkansas after heavy pursuit from Miami and head coach Mario Cristobal. And this was confirmed again to various different people as well. And I saw this and I wasn't surprised. Like, I kind of had a feeling he was going to stay. The whole going to Miami, giving up what he has here at Arkansas to go to Miami just did not seem like a fit. Like, it just didn't seem to make any logical sense, assuming that Kendal Briles has been truthful in saying how much he loves it here and, you know, knowing how much he loves working for Sam Pittman and like all the things going on. It just didn't seem right. It didn't seem like it was something that was actually going to work. And when this got announced, I'm like, okay, so this pretty much means that since, you know, his agent is Jimmy Sexton, we all know that. We know that he's going to be probably getting a major raise and extension, and he deserves it. I don't think anyone should have a problem with that, except for the File Briles crowd, which is still some weird people out there that think that you should fire Kendal Briles. Good grief. But this is about, you know, the way it was supposed to be, and that's surprising. And I'm glad. I'm happy for Kendal Briles. I'm glad he made the decision to stay here. I'm extremely thankful. I'm loving the fact that he's going to be here for at least one more year. I know eventually he will probably leave, just like Barry Odom will, but try to keep him as long as you can. So I'm very happy that Kendal Briles is staying. And I think that, again, he made the right decision. And kudos to Sam Pittman and kudos to Hunter Yurachek for being able to provide enough of an incentive for him to stay, because we know that these guys are going to get a lot of offers. So, like, all that's great. Not surprising, all that. What I have loved today, and I continue to love it so much, because for once you can, as a Razorback fan, you can kind of talk a little trash and basically go at people for this. It may not be your style, but it's my style. When this came out, I saw that some reporters and some people in Miami were saying, well, you know, Kendal Briles was never officially offered the job. In fact, they talked a little bit, but there was never any serious interest, and they never offered him the job. Miami had one coordinator in mind, and it was not Kendal Briles. It was someone else. And, you know, I would believe that, or at least think about that, the possibility of it, because we even talked about it yesterday on the podcast that, you know, there's a possibility that Jimmy Sexton was doing Jimmy Sexton things. Absolutely. But the more that you saw it being reported by a lot of different other college football experts and reporters and everything, it came down to the fact that I think he was actually offered. Like, I do believe that Miami wanted Kendal Briles so much that they did offer him the job. I 100% believe that. And to add into the mix, I saw that, I guess it was that guy, Mike Ruiz, however you say his name. I'm going to pull up the tweet right now and read it to you because it's just absurd and cracks me up because it kind of is just so indicative of exactly what I'm talking about. He says, Briles was never offered the Miami job, and CAA wanted Miami too, so they could leverage it for a raise and loyalty clout at Arkansas. Miami never offered, and they leaked the offer anyway. Briles really wanted to go to Miami for what it's worth. No, he didn't. He did not want to go to Miami. He may have been kind of interested in it, but if he wanted to go to Miami, guess what? He would have gone to Miami. and because he was offered the job at Miami. And that right there just shows you how there's so many college football people out there, not just national, but regional, but places that don't even understand exactly how the deal goes with coaching and all those things too. Like all of that, I just crack up because I'm like, okay, it is possible, folks. It is possible that Arkansas is actually a good job, and being at Arkansas is actually a great thing. And being a coach under Sam Pittman is actually something that coaches want to do, and players want to play there. People cannot wrap their minds around it. It's blowing their minds. They cannot just fathom what. You'd rather go to Arkansas than Miami, but Miami, it's Miami. It's the U or whatever. It's like they're so great. They do so many great things. It's a historical school. They got a lot of success. Yeah, it's a dumpster fire. It's a terrible job, and it's a terrible place to be a college football coach. Look at the past 15 years. It's been a nightmare. And the same thing goes in with players. Well, why would this player transfer to Arkansas? I mean, if he was at Georgia and Alabama and LSU, they probably weren't any good. They didn't want him anyway. I was like, okay. Like that type of stuff just makes me laugh because they can't ever just give credit to Arkansas for saying, you know what? They're turning into something big time. They're actually putting together a really good foundation, a really good culture that coaches and that players, big time coaches and big time players want to be a part of. Like plain and simple. That's what it is. And it just they can't handle it. They're like, no. I mean, you're Arkansas. You're not LSU. You're not Georgia. You're not Miami. I mean, who would want to go there? You guys must be cheating, or maybe you got them like hypnotized or something. Like it can't just be that Arkansas is actually a great place to be at. And it's killing them. It's killing them that they can't handle it. Now, I'm not saying everyone is this way because there's been several people who have actually complimented Arkansas and Sam Pittman and the job that they're doing. But for a lot of people, they just don't know what to think. And so instead of just trying to pay some sort of a compliment or actually give respect to Arkansas, they're going to say, nah, it's got to be something else. Yeah, they didn't want him anyways. Get out of here with that crap. You know what? I love it. Bring it on. And people wonder why Arkansas fans always feel disrespected by so many people and by so many different news outlets and media and all that because of stuff like this. It's like, hey, there's no way you could be any good. There's no way that anybody want to be a part of your program. Well, you're proving you're wrong there, Slick. They're doing a pretty good job right now. And I know you hate it. And I know you want to say it's fake, but it's real. Good for Kendal Briles. In fact, he just tweeted out at the time of this recording, he just had three little hog emojis. Let's go. All right. See, I love that. I love that. I love Kendal Briles. I was wanting him to stay. And I know people were saying, well, if we go, he'll have something in place. Nah, he's staying. He's got KJ Jefferson. Let's start the KJ for Heisman campaign. Let's get crazy with it. Let's celebrate. Let's pop a bottle or something like that. Let's enjoy this moment because it's pretty big time. This is it. Your putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you run your business? Poor visibility because you're relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. It's the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth with visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your process and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of the competition. 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financial program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. So just head over to netsuite.com/locked for this special one-of-a-kind financing on the #1 financial system for growing business. Again, netsuite.com/locked.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so we will get into some Razorback baseball news here in just a second, but I'm kind of calling it audible, if you will, in the middle of the podcast where I just keep seeing things getting tweeted out about this Kendal Briles thing, and obviously the the fans are very fortunate and like very happy, and they're loving the stuff that's coming out about it and all those things. So it's great. It's great to see. But the thing is that like I started putting it together when we were talking about the culture in the previous segment, and looking at the players that are coming in and everything. Hog fans, it's hard not to get too excited. I mean, I'm going to be honest about it. It's hard not to. And I said on my radio show the other day that with all the pieces that are coming into place and everybody staying healthy, and if you continue to get some big time transfers, which is what you're doing, and given the schedule, I mean, it could be an incredible year. It really could. And I've had some people, not everybody, but some people try to, tweet at me or whatnot, being like, hey, you got to calm down. You got to pump the brakes a little bit. You got to stop being so excited about everything, because it doesn't, it's the Arkansas Razorbacks. Things could go pretty wrong. Somebody could get injured. Somebody could leave, whatever it could be. And all these things could happen, and you don't want to be left holding the bag. And I hear that, and I'm like, okay, I guess I get it. I guess I get the fact that, Razorback fans are a little bit torn when it comes to being too excited about things because of how things go awry pretty quickly for them. I get that. But if you just look at the stuff that actually matters with the Razorback football program, and what I mean by that is you look at the stuff that is not about what Sam Pittman's tweeting about and how funny he is on Twitter, or the social media stuff that so many people wrap themselves up in, or the sound bites that they're putting out. Like, not that crap, not the graphics, not the funny, stupid stuff like that. If you look at the stuff that actually matters when it comes to winning games, when you talk about depth building, talk about recruiting, talking about coaching, talking about developing, talking about the right way of doing things and the ways that make football programs successful, Arkansas is doing all those things. And of course, you got to give, if not all the credit to Sam Pittman and what he's been able to build. The best thing I believe that ever happened to Sam Pittman and get him ready for this job is being at Georgia. Like, he's coached at a lot of great places, but I think the head coaching stuff and the things that he does as far as the day-to-day operations and how to recruit and how to build, he has learned so much from Georgia, and he has said that a lot from Kirby Smart. And I could not be happier that experience happened for Sam Pittman. I think that that's what built him for this, because he was there in that Georgia culture and he saw how they approached recruiting, how they approached depth, how they approached the practices leading up, the game week preparations. Like, he saw all those things, and I think he was just a sponge and just building it all in. Like, he left for Georgia because, of course, Brett Bielema was an idiot and, basically said, we don't need you. So now that worked out. But he went to Georgia, and I think that the number one thing that everyone knew about Sam Pittman was that he was a great offensive line coach and a great recruiter, which he is, and he was. And he probably was one of the best in the country before he became a head coach. Like, that's a fact. But it just seems like he was always good at putting together offensive lines, because you have the most players on the field of any other position group. You're going to have 5 offensive linemen. So you got to manage all that. But being in the offices, in the rooms, the meetings, all those things, I think he just was a sponge and he just soaked everything in. And Sam, being as great of a recruiter as he has been, he talked about relationships. And I think that that's also what's kept him having the coaches stay in place that he's wanted to stay in place, is because of the strong relationships that he has with them. Like, he's built that. And he's built that with guys that are outside of Arkansas. He still has strong connections and strong relationships with a lot of different coaches out there. So the things that just kind of pile up and add up over time with what Sam Pittman has done, you're starting to see that, at least I am, this isn't just a random flash in the pan great year that was last year. This isn't just something where it's a cute story where they benefited, like some people thought, well, they just benefited from the SEC kind of being, LSU being down and A&M being down and all that. And I'm like, no, I don't get down with that. What I do get down with is I think that Sam Pittman has built something into what can be a sustainable, successful program. I believe that he can continue to build this upon, years and years to come. I think that it's a recipe for success. And I don't believe under any circumstance, as long as Sam Pittman's the head coach, that you'll ever have a team roll over and die, that you'll ever have a team stop playing hard, you'll ever have a team give up. Like, you'll never have that. Like, I don't think under Sam Pittman's watch that this program will ever turn into a disaster like it did under Brett Bielema, like it did with John L. Smith, what it did with Chad Morris. Like, it won't ever be a disaster. Like, those are just the things that I look at to say, I don't know if he'll ever win a national championship. I hope he does. It'd be awesome if he did. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know if he'll even win the SEC. But I know as long as Sam Pittman is the coach, Arkansas is going to be competitive. And as long as you're competitive at a place like Arkansas, there will always be that 1 or 2 years where you break through, where everything goes right for you, where you'll find a way to get to that SEC championship or whatnot. And could you imagine what the haters will be saying if Arkansas ever won the SEC West under Sam Pittman? Could you imagine? Everybody would say, man, the SEC must be down if Arkansas is making it, or if even Arkansas won it. Wow, this is the end of the SEC when Arkansas finally wins it all. Okay. You know what I'll say? Screw everybody. We are SEC champions, and no one's going to care. Like, I'm not going to care. You shouldn't care. You get the dub. You get that praise. You get that glory. That's all that matters. But it'll happen. And under Sam Pittman, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened sooner rather than later. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue to march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for the best sports wagering for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today to receive 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. So head over to betonline.ag where the game starts.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Baseball will be here before we know it. It's incredible that, it seems like just yesterday when the baseball season ended, and it was really sad. But now we get to be happy again because Arkansas is going to be returning a lot of power and a lot of talent on this year's team, while also adding some really good talent as well. And I love D1Baseball.com because they put out some of the best content when it comes to college baseball and everything. And they have Arkansas as the number 2 team in the country. Number 2 in the country. Like, I'm seeing that, and I'm already getting excited. I probably should, pump the brakes, but they do it. They know better than I do. And if they got Arkansas number 2, they must be legitimate. And Texas is the number 1 team, which, of course, it has to be Arkansas and Texas at the top. But Arkansas being the highest-ranked SEC team, and this is what cracks me up. So Arkansas's number 2, Vandy's 3, Mississippi State's 4, Ole Miss is 5, LSU's 8, Florida is 9. That's 6 of the top 10 teams in the SEC. 6 of the top 10 teams out of the SEC. And then throw in Georgia at number 16 and Tennessee at number 19. Whew. Gee, it's going to be another banner year in the baseball side of things for the Arkansas Razorbacks and in the SEC. It's going to be a tough one, but still, it's going to be fun, and I can't wait to get started because we know the talent. All of that being said, prior to the recording of this podcast, we had some bad news come out with Razorback Baseball, and Kendal Rogers was the first to report it, where, man, this just sucks. Right-hand pitcher Peyton Paulette will miss the entire 2022 season with a UCL injury that will require Tommy John surgery. He was, of course, number 2 rankings there, and Peyton Paulette, and according to Teddy Cahill, he says he ranks 13th on the top 100 draft prospects list. Like, that's a brutal blow. And it's just disappointing. Like, I was hoping that maybe that they would be able to, go through without having anybody injured, which I know is probably, I feel like every year there's an injury of some sort that ends up being problematic for Arkansas. So, I was not going to be surprised if someone did, but I just like Peyton Paulette, man, he missed a little bit of last season with, some injury and a scare that had happened in the NCAA tournament too. And thought that maybe he'd be good to go, but No, he's going to have Tommy John surgery, so he's going to have to be out. So that's a big blow. He was going to be somebody I think Arkansas fans could rely on, possibly even being the Friday night starter. Like, he was that good. Now, they have some depth of pitching. They have plenty of guys that are able to score and to hit. And, like, they have plenty of talent still surrounding him. But still, if you lose one of your better pitchers, it's kind of just a big bummer. Like, it was plain and simple as that. The Razorbacks will be fine. I think that they can still absolutely live up to the expectation of being one of the best teams in the country. And I think they can still win a national championship, College World Series title without Peyton Paulette. Like, I think that can be possible as long as the other pitchers and the other guys can step up. You know, Connor Nolan's going to have to step up. Jackson Wiggins going to have to step up. Like, guys like that, I think they'll be fine. But that's just one of those things that's just like, you want everybody that you can possibly have. And there is a lot of talent and potential in Peyton Paulette. But hopefully he gets the surgery. Hopefully he comes back better and stronger than ever. And hopefully the Razorbacks can continue on and have a really good Razorback baseball season like we know they always do, and they probably always will as long as Dave Van Horn's the coach there. But still, just some really sad news coming out, and thoughts and prayers go to Peyton Paulette and a speedy recovery so he can come back and get back on track when it comes to the pitching side of things as well. Appreciate everybody listening into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, so be sure to do that as well. You can also get after me on Twitter if you have any questions, comments, concerns at BuzzJohn Nabors, and we'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you.